The world is supposed to obey by certain scientific rules, or else chaos would reign. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm reading some kind of crazy sci-fi mumbo-jumbo here, but there are actually some curious incidents when the world does not behave in the way Stephen Hawking told us it does. So many, in fact, we could make 1 billion videos out of it, and probably will do. But today, we are going to focus on buildings that baffles even the biggest of boffins. These are 20 buildings. The Balancing Barn in Suffolk, United Kingdom. You'll love it or you'll hate it, but we can all at least agree that the Balancing Barn in Suffolk, United Kingdom, is definitely different. The Balancing Barn, by a small lake near the village of Thorrington in Suffolk, has been designed to reflect the natural environment with reflective metal sheeting. Look at it and you see metal, but you also see trees, grass and other natural materials. When you make your way to the home up a 984-foot driveway, all you see is a tiny two-person home. It doesn't look like much, but that's because you're seeing the end of it. It's not until you get to the end of the driveway that you realize the barn is actually almost 100 feet long and boasts a 50-foot cantilever over a slope, delivering half of the barn into nature. As worried as you might be about the barn snapping in half, clever engineering is at play. The building structure is rigid, allowing for half of it to be supported by absolutely nothing. There is also a central concrete core. Simple from the outside, it's deceivingly spacious and contemporary on the inside. There's a large kitchen and dining room, 4 double bedrooms, a separate bathroom and toilet, and a hidden staircase to the underneath garden. The MVRDV architects really thought of everything. Situated in Bangkok, Thailand, it simply has to be one of the craziest buildings in the world. Disagree? Be sure to sound off in the comments. Towering 314 meters, or 1,030 feet into the sky, this colossal complex has more than 200 apartments and is full of everything you could want, from bars to cinemas to restaurants. I mean, it's basically the building from J.G. Ballard's novel High Rise. A building this huge really should topple over, but it defies all the laws of physics and continues to stand tall and proud. Its main attraction is a walkway that only the bravest can stomach because it has a glass floor. Imagine walking, looking down, and realizing you are 1,030 feet in the sky. It's enough to make you vomit. Think you could stomach it? House in Fairhaven, Australia. Building a house by the beach has always been something slightly concerning. We don't know what our oceans will look like in the future, or whether our dream homes will end up under the water. But the owners of the Pole House in Fairhaven, Australia, don't have to worry about that. They can have the best of both worlds, ocean view and minimal risk of losing them, and that's because this house is suspended 131 feet in the air, looking out over Fairhaven Beach. The renovated property was initially built by Frank Dixon in the 1970s and was redesigned later by F2 architecture architect Franco Fiorentini. For decades, it has been a landmark and something you look out for as you make your way down to the popular Fairhaven Beach. It's easily one of the most iconic homes in Australia. It sits on a concrete platform supported by a pylon and is accessible by a narrow concrete bridge. Once inside the property, you're treated to sensational panoramic views over the ocean courtesy of the full-height glass walls and frameless glass balustrades. While the new owners undoubtedly enjoyed this 689 square foot elevated home, they ensure others can too. You can rent this home for a minimum of 2 days for upwards of $434 per night. Nagasuki-an Tea House in Nagano Prefecture, Japan. We already know that Japan is the master of treetop architecture, so you probably wouldn't be very surprised to see the Tagasuki-an Tea House. It's a unique tree house designed by Terunobu Fujimori that has been built on family land in Chino, Nagano Prefecture. It's small and compact at 29 square feet, with only enough space for about 4.5 tatami mats, but I guess that's all the space you need to make tea. But obviously, the most unique feature of this tea house is that it's built on trees. 2 chestnut trees were felled nearby, with the trunks brought to the family plot of land to be used as support structures. Once the tea house was built on the top, a tree-standing ladder was leaned against it for guests to climb up. but they aren't able to climb right to the top in one go. Instead, they have to stop halfway, remove their shoes, and leave them on a platform. If you're scared of heights, you wouldn't want to look down. Once inside, you'll see that the whole house is fitted out with bamboo and plaster and 3 large windows. It's a simple space, but one that's somehow still a Museum of Tomorrow in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. When you think of a museum, you picture rows and rows of old, dusty artifacts with exciting stories behind them. The Museum of Tomorrow in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, is much different. It's easily one of the most extraordinary buildings in Brazil, but it's also a museum that focuses on science and art, emphasizing sustainability and the changes required to prevent social collapse, climate disaster, and environmental ruin. The $59 million building was developed in what used to be one of the poorest and most crime-ridden parts in Rio de Janeiro. It's now a sign of wealth if you live or work there, and the Museum of Tomorrow undoubtedly contributed to that change. The building was designed to adapt to changing environments and is also at the cutting edge of sustainability. It uses about 40% less energy than conventional buildings, and 9% of that energy comes from the sun. It also has a cooling system that accesses water from Guanabara Bay. When you enter, you also don't see those expected dusty historical exhibits. Instead, you walk through a type of digital portal with 9 projectors in an egg-shaped cinema displaying 13.7 billion years of geological and natural changes. The curator, Alberto Oliveira, said the hope is for people to leave the museum feeling inspired and disturbed. Number 16. The Seventh Room in Harad, Sweden. The treehouse business is already well known for providing treehouses in the tall pine forests of northern Sweden for guests to stay overnight. The Seventh Room in Harad, Sweden is one of their latest creations, built as a 55m2 traditional Nordic cabin within a tree canopy overlooking the Lule River and Lapland treetops. But accessing the Seventh Room is no easy feat. Guests have to walk up a staircase to get to the top. Fortunately, there is a small lift to transport luggage, so you don't have to lug your suitcases up with you. Once inside, you get to enjoy the authentic used for the wooden facade, and the surfaces have been burnt to ensure minimal maintenance.